Welcome to another episode of the Lead with Hope podcast, where we explore what it means to lead with hope. I'm your host, Brandi Kelly, and each week we're here to help you lead with greater purpose, resilience, and confidence. My hope is that every episode leaves you encouraged, equipped, and inspired to become the kind of leader who creates meaningful change one conversation, one decision, and one relationship at a time. Today, I am excited to welcome my friend Kyle Thompson. He's the superintendent of the Regional Office of Education, number 11. Kyle leads with authenticity, humility, and a deep commitment to serving schools, educators, students, and the communities throughout his region. And recently, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Kyle and his team through a DISC training. And I have to tell you, these people are the kind of group that makes facilitation a lot of fun. I know you're going to enjoy hearing not only about Kyle's leadership journey, but also about his insights of some of the most important topics in education today, including the transition to phone-free schools. Want to strengthen communication, improve collaboration, and help your team lead with greater self-awareness? I'd love to partner with your school or district to deliver a DISC assessment, debrief, and training designed specifically for educators. Understand how different communication styles impact relationships, reduce conflict and build stronger collaboration, recognize individual strengths and leadership potential, and create healthier, more productive teams while improving trust, engagement, and workplace culture. Each participant receives a personalized DISC report followed by an interactive debrief. This helps them understand what the results mean and, more importantly, how they apply those results in their daily work. We then build on the insights through engaging professional development focused on communication, teamwork, leadership, and creating a culture where everyone can thrive. This experience is customized to meet the unique needs of your team. If you're ready to invest in your people, let's start the conversation. You can visit sparkhopeedu.com or email me at bkelly@sparkhopeedu.com to learn more about bringing DISC training to your school or district. Together, we'll build stronger leaders, stronger teams, and stronger schools. So Kyle, I want to welcome you to the Lead with Hope podcast.
For having me. I'm excited.
We've talked several times virtually and in person at this point, and I have learned that one of the things that bring you joy in this life is running. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with running and why that brings you joy?
Sure. Always happy to talk about running.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that by now. I didn't start running until after both of my kids were born. Actually, it was really the month my son was born is when I kind of just said, hey, I'm going to go for a run. And so I did a lot of just running by myself for about 10 years off and on. And as my kids, got older, like 5, 6 years old, like we started doing 5Ks, community 5Ks together across the region. It was a fun way to be out and be visible and support causes and stay active. And that turned into eventually the kids started catching me in terms of speed. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start running longer. They won't want to run this long. And then a good friend of mine, a local principal, I knew that he ran really, really long, like 100-milers, ultra marathons, and that intrigued me. And I like the idea of pushing myself and pushing physically and mentally to see what my limits are, to see what the human limits are, and also see what the human potential is.
Yeah.
And so I started right around my 40th birthday. I ran my first marathon a month before I turned 40, and I ran my first ultra marathon a month after I turned 40 in the middle of winter, and it was overnight. And I remember finishing that and thinking to myself, that wasn't so bad. I could run longer. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. I've got a small group of friends here in our county that we'll meet up and we'll go on group runs just for fun overnight. We'll do a lot of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. runs, every once in a while, and just work in training runs, whether it's 4 to 6 a.m. doing 10 miles around Lake Charleston, or, anytime we can get together with a group, it's great. Even if it's one person, it beats running alone. And running became one of the things, if not the only thing, that could get me and get my mind off of anything else, like work. or daily. Not that I'm a stressed person at all, but just it could get me to stop thinking so much about being here or doing work or what I had to do next or something along those lines. So when I'm out there running, sometimes people ask what I'm thinking about, and usually the answer is nothing, and I
Yeah.
love it. And so it's just a lot of fun.
And it's a good reminder. Leadership isn't just about what happens at school or in the office. It's also about how you're taking care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself so you can show up to serve others as the best version of who God created you to be.
You got it. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I attribute the running, especially the long distance running, so many things happen during that you have to troubleshoot and
Yeah.
solve. And so it makes it's made it the last couple of years. If something tough or challenging has ever come my way at work, like
Mhm.
it's made me better equipped to handle it and to lead through it. And anyone here will tell you in my office will tell you I'm much calmer now in the face of where I used to maybe get frazzled or
Mhm.
you know, panicked or whatever, but I'm just much calmer, cool, and just and running has definitely been the reason for that. And so yeah, it's running is preparing me for life, and it's
Yeah.
preparing for leadership, and it's equipping me to be a better leader for sure.
We're both D's with the disc profile. So I have to ask you, what's the longest distance you've ever run?
Yeah, I have 4 100-mile belt buckles, for completing those, and the longest one I think was 106 miles, and that was a 35-hour run, and 30 hours of that was in a hard rain,
Mhm.
and it involved 2 overnights of no sleep. I think I was up for probably over 48 hours, because it started in the evening, and then, yeah, so it was just, so that was it, and that was in, September of 2023, so
That is, impressive, Kyle, but I don't know. I might be a little bit like some of my listeners. Running and fun, just, I'm not real sure.
you know what? I'll
Kind of
tell anybody. Yeah, it doesn't have to be everybody's thing, but I
right.
think movement should be a part of everybody's thing. And so if you can walk 10,000 steps a day,
Mhm.
just go walk. Like go walk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll just find some way to move. If biking's your thing, go bike, working out, whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just find some way to move, keep moving, getting steps. Yeah.
Completely agree with you there. It's a habit
Sure.
that we need to invest in to show up as the best version of ourselves. So, Kyle, we're going to segue away from that a little bit. And I want you to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself. I gave a brief intro, but what else do they need to know about Kyle Thompson?
My So this is I just starting my 14th year here in the office, Regional
Mhm.
Office of Education, 11 in Charleston, and I'm the regional superintendent of seven counties, 25 school districts. So it's the largest, and the map is behind me here. It's the largest geographic regional office in the state of Illinois. It's over 3,600 square miles. I work with 25 great school districts. They're small rural school districts. And again, this is my 14th year doing that. Prior to that, I taught and coached for 5 years in Windsor. And I loved that. Still consider it my second home of sorts. And I thought I was just going to teach forever. That's all I kind of wanted to do. And then I fell into a leadership track, and I went back to school. I took my first grad school class at Eastern Illinois University the month my daughter was born. And I was in school for 6 years straight. 2 year program at Eastern, another 2 year program at Eastern, and then 2 years, my final 2 years at Indiana State. And so that's kind of what's led me to be where I am now. And I have a wife and 2 children, and we're a pretty active family in our community. And with the kids are all in several athletics and extracurriculars, and we do a lot of divide and conquering, and a lot of eating dinner at either 3:30 or 9:30. Especially during the school year. But we're just trying to maximize our time together. And my kids are going to be a freshman and sophomore this year in high school, so it goes by fast. But we have maximized our time, and we like to travel quite a bit as a family. And so
Mhm.
that's just it's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And
Yeah.
you brought up the fact that you have 2 children, and I agree. It goes fast. The time goes fast, and they grow up so quickly, especially when you look back. My kids are both grown. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about today, we just received news that the governor signed a law banning cell phones in our schools during the instructional time. So I'm curious, and if you don't mind, share a little bit about how you feel about that, not only as a regional soup, but also as a dad.
Yeah, so it's a topic I've been pretty passionate about for
Mhm.
several years now. Neither of my children have cell phones. They might be the only two students in their high school that don't have a cell phone, and my daughter's getting ready to be a sophomore. She's 15 and a half, and my son is going to be a freshman. He's a couple years younger, and he cares less about it. But my daughter understands the reason she doesn't have a cell phone,
Mhm.
and it's based on what we know, and it's kind of one of those things. When we know more,
Yeah.
when we know better, we do better. We're
Mhm.
supposed to do better, and we know so much more about phones and screens than we knew when the smartphone came out in 2007 or 8,
Mm.
and then we knew 10 years ago when all the schools were rushing to go one to one. So much more research, so much more evidence has come out on pros and cons to all these screens and all these phones. And we're starting to learn, we have learned that
Mhm.
they're not great. They're not great for especially for our young kids, our young children. And I've been really passionate the last couple of years about phone-free schools,
Mhm.
6th through 12th grade, no phones. That'll improve our academics. That'll reduce discipline. That'll
Mhm.
improve our mental health. And so that's been a passion of mine. More recently, I've become more passionate about the birth to 5 age group, about how much screen time they're getting. And then you talk about kindergarten readiness,
Yeah.
and we've seen a huge shift in what our kindergartners are coming to us as a result of their early upbringing with screens, being read to less, coloring less, drawing less. And so when we have kindergarten teachers telling us they don't know how to grip a color crown, or they
Mhm.
can't figure out how to use and turn up a glue stick, or they can't communicate or problem solve or regulate their emotions. All they know how to do is this,
Yeah.
and that's super sad, because then schools sometimes are often criticized for what we're doing in schools with students,
Right.
but we don't get them from birth. We get them at 5, and they come to us. And
Mhm.
we have to do the best we can with how and when they're coming to us, and
Mhm.
so that's what we try to do. As far as the legislation goes, the phone-free schools, Illinois became the, I think, 40th, give or take, state to
Mhm.
ban phones in schools, and 30 of those states are bell-to-bell, full-day bans, and that's
Mhm.
what Illinois is. I've really been trying to champion schools to get out ahead of it, and to take ownership, and to be proactive in their communities, to do what's right before the government tells us we have to. And I have four of my districts did that and have done that,
Mhm.
and those that have done it the longest, 2 of them have had great success. Now we have a year where everybody now has to, and so a year to plan and prepare for that. So it'll be interesting to see how every school district prepares to handle that. Again, I wanted to be proactive. I wanted schools to be proactive. We've seen a lot of districts around the state and around the
Mhm.
nation be proactive, but the bans, the phone bans are here. There 40 states out of 50 have banned cell phones,
Yeah.
and so Illinois is now just another state that has done that. But again, a lot of that goes to just the amount of time students are on the phones, the
Mhm.
distractions, and what we now know. And so you're starting to see legislators do that. And some schools now, they have a they're able to say, well, this wasn't to upset parents or to
Right.
students who don't want to want to have their phone. Well, it's the law. Now we have to do it. They don't have
Mhm.
to. They don't. They can put that. The government can serve as a shield for them for coming
Mhm.
up with that. And so they have that law to protect them to an extent. But like I said, I remain most proud of the districts who had the fortitude to have the tough conversations with their school boards and their communities, and pass that. And again, many of those in Illinois have done so. I actually wish it would have been. I'm a big local control person.
Mhm.
I wanted everybody to have the local authority to do that, but it's where we are now, and we're going to have a year to prepare for all of our schools to be phone free from bell to bell.
I was talking to a high school student during my time as a superintendent, and she reported to me that she probably spent 10 to 12 hours a day on some form of technology. And I asked her, I said, does your mental health seem to get better or worse as you spend more time on your device? And she said, it's absolutely worse. And I said, well, then why don't you limit that time? Why don't you do something about it? She said, I don't have anything else to do. I don't have the willpower. I don't have the motivation. And that's where it starts. And I was
Right.
in your office yesterday, and I was working with a group of principals, and I noticed that you guys are taking a step forward to help equip people with a book study called The Anxious Generation, which is a wonderful book that I highly recommend. With that book study, Kyle, who is that for? Who would you encourage to sign up for that book study?
That's a book study that we've offered a couple of times now. And it's just a book that I'm so supportive of. I've got just a stack of them over there on my shelf that
Yeah.
I'll loan out or give away to anybody who is interested in the topic and improving their livelihood through the reduction of screens and phones. But that's open to any educator in our region. And I would encourage anybody, educator or not, if you're a parent, read that
Yeah.
book. Read the book.
Yeah.
They've got an anxious generation for kids, and my kids have a copy. They're reading it, and they're understanding more. We know so much more now, and going back to the students and the screens, when I'm walking through a high school and I see students in the back of a room crowded around one phone watching videos or short films, or we've lost. It's okay to be bored, and
It
I tell my
is.
kids that, like, you need to know how to handle being bored and not
Yeah.
having anything to do. And it's tough now, and you see it with adults too. You
You
see it
do.
with grandmothers. You see it with people who are just constantly obsessed with always being on it. And I haven't been a great model in my life, or in for my children. In fact, I would say that's probably been one of the things I've been the worst at, is putting the phone away at the times I need to put the phone away. But you know, I've s- I've sent text in car while driving, and guilty, and it's I'm not proud of it, but it's designed. Phones and screens and apps, they are designed to get us addicted. They are
They are.
designed to keep us on it. You're starting to see some of these big corporations be sued for this now, and every single time they're guilty, and they know it. And you hear of all the big tech people who don't give their kids screens and phones because
Right.
they know how bad it is. But it's their moneymaker, and they're protecting their bottom line, and by what they're doing. And so just we know so much more. And so really my office is now this year going to take a position of trying to educate our public on it. Not to tell anybody they're bad because they've given their kid a phone. Like, no, everybody's parenting the best
Right.
they can, the best they know how. But just to educate our parents, our school districts, our educators, all citizens, educate kids. We have a big project coming, and an initiative, and we're going to start writing more about it, speaking more about it, talking more about it, and being a little more aggressive this year with educating our public on, hey, let's bring back childhood unplugged. Let's reduce. Let's not give our 10-year-old a phone for her birthday. Let's keep her off of social media at 13. Like, this is all stuff now that we know is bad. And I think somebody who spoke here a couple of years ago, they said NMK syndrome. Everybody has. Oh, not my kid. Not my kid. My kid won't be doing anything wrong on a phone. And we know time and time again that they get anxious just knowing they have a phone and they can't access it. Or it's just that, so I think, like, I'm excited about what we're getting ready to do, and what we've done. And I'm proud of the role our office has played in the initiative statewide lately. And we're going to keep doing that until we want everybody to realize it. We want people to start changing. We talk about the pendulum all the time. We want to start seeing it shift to where less and less kids are getting phones at 9, 10, 11 years old. Middle schoolers, on social media. I mean, it's just crazy knowing what we know and reading what we read. And if I can keep going for a second, just this week, the United States Surgeon General put out a warning on the harms of screen time and how bad it is. And if you're thinking, well, that's partisan, well, 3 years ago, the U.S. Surgeon General under a previous administration put out a warning on the harms of social media and the harms of a digital childhood. And so it's crossed partisan line. This is one thing that all the Democrats and all the Republicans seem to agree on. And both Surgeon Generals, they agree. People agree. This month's cover of the Atlantic magazine talks about how the age of reading is over, and how we're going to become a post-literate society. who doesn't know how to read for more than 10 seconds and whose attention can't, we can't keep our attention and we can't focus. And it talks about how scary that is. And if we can't, can't read complex text, can't focus long enough to read more than a paragraph or a sentence. And just, it was a little alarming to read. So it's everywhere. It's this topic. And so I want everybody to be aware of it and to know about it and to learn better and do better. Yep.
And I'm so excited to see that you're championing this cause because I am very passionate about it as well. My children got cell phones, they're both grown now. They got cell phones in high school. And looking back on that, they didn't have all the pressures around social media. Things have changed drastically in just the last 10 to 15 years. But we have to do better, and awareness is the first step. We can either be part of the solution or part of the problem. And so let's take the steps that we need to take to bring awareness, to educate the public, teachers, administrators, and take ownership around this. Because if we are part of the solution, I believe that we can bring about some pretty significant change in a very short amount of time. If COVID taught us nothing else, it's that we don't have to take decades for change to happen. We can have pretty significant change in a short amount of time. So thank you for championing this cause. I'm super excited to see where this takes us.
Yep. I'm excited too. And I think if we can just give, to play on words here, if we can just give hope to the parents of young children who are starting to see their classmates and their peers get phones to their kids, if we can just give them the hope that like, hey, I can hold out because I know it's the right thing to do, and I don't care what everybody else is doing. And then maybe that'll become contagious to where it's like, you know what, when the kids start saying, hey, all my classmates are starting to get phones, the parents can say, we're not going to, because it's not what's best for you. And that's where I found myself as a parent the last several years. My daughter had classmates getting cell phones so young, and I just remember cringing and thinking, what in the world? And so, but I've dug in and to the point now where my daughter understands it and is almost supportive of like, I think she's thankful deep down. She'll never say it, but I think deep down, I think she's okay. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, when she grows up, she will tell you everything that you did right and everything that you did wrong, because that is the season of life I'm in these days. And my children are very forthcoming in the things that I did right, but they also tell me the things that I did wrong. So it's a humbling experience, but it's also bringing about awareness and allowing us to have conversations about how they should parent their children.
Yeah, I look forward to that feedback.
Yeah. Yes. So, Kyle, one of the themes of this podcast is that our greatest challenges, and we've been talking about some of the challenges we face as parents, but our greatest challenges often become our greatest teachers. So, when you look back so far on your life, is there an adversity that has had an impact on your life or your leadership?
Great question. I haven't gone, I feel bad saying this to an extent, but I haven't had any adversity that's been like where I've had, like, I don't have a sick child. I haven't battled real tough family loss adversity. But so a lot of the adversity that I've battled, I've brought on myself, right? And put myself in positions to face adversity, whether it is, being a teacher and my wife's pregnant with my daughter, and I'm thinking I'm going to go back to school. And then going back to school for the first 6 years of her life and the first 4 years of my son's life, and just how hard it was to finish writing a dissertation and to come into the office on Saturday mornings or Saturday for 12 hours or whatever it took. I remember just wanting to get that done so bad, so fast, because I knew that the world was going on outside of me and I didn't want to miss it. And it was hard. And you get the feedback that you need to tweak this or tweak that. And so it sounds bad saying like that, some of my adversities, going through a doctoral program, but like it just, that was tough. And then right after I finished, I had to run for office and somebody was running against me. And that was adversity again that I signed up for, but then it started impacting people around me. It started impacting my family. My children were small. Are we going to have to move, Dad? Like things like that, my staff at the time. And again, this has been a long time ago now, but that type of adversity It does, it does. You learn from it. You lead differently because of it. You hopefully improve as a person when you go through some of those tough things. But and then the running stuff is adversity that
Hmm.
I've brought on myself, and that I try to create that adversity so that I am prepared for when the real adversity comes, and so that's just what I've tried to do. But and I know it's going to come for me. I know because it gets all of us, and so who knows when? Who knows if I'll have to battle cancer, or my
Hmm.
wife will, or or something happens to one of my children or their family, or just, like we don't know what it's going to be. We know who does, but we don't get any inside track. And so just for when it comes, like I'd like to think I'm going to be as prepared as possible
Right.
to face that. And that's largely because of my faith and
Hmm.
my family and my friends and my people that surround me. So I think when it does come, I'll be okay. And in the meantime, for those going through adversity, I just try to be there, just as I would ask people to be for me. So that's kind of my thoughts and my experiences with that.
I've said this many times. We don't get to choose what adversity we face in this life, but we do get to choose what it produces within us. We have to be intentional about the people that we surround ourselves with because we need people to make us better. We need people who are going to inspire us and encourage us and to just help us be the best version of ourselves, whether we're going through that season of adversity or not.
Yeah. And it's just that's at home and that's where you
Yep.
work. And you've met my team here,
Yeah.
and we've had some fun together, and
Hmm.
we have that fun every day. And you have people that also, you need people to hold you accountable, even when you're in charge. And that's great to have. And so and when you go home, you need people to keep you humble, even though
Hmm.
you're in charge. And so
Hmm.
it's I feel like I have plenty of that in my life, and I'm grateful for it. But
Hmm.
yeah, who you live with and who you work with, you talk about what percent of your life you spend at work or in the
Right.
office, and it's a lot, and you want to be around the best people when you're doing
Hmm.
that. And as you've seen, I feel like I am, and I feel
Yeah.
like I've got it made, and I'm so grateful for that. So yeah,
When I came there to work with principals, on the presenters table, there was a picture of you. And even though your name is Kyle, it was labeled Dan. Can you
yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that, Kyle?
Well, in our training with you, we took our DISC personality test,
Yeah.
and I was a unique result in my office. I was the only D in my office, and
Right.
then and in our training we watched video, and it had the personalities of four people in an office setting playing in a sandbox. And the gentleman in the video, his name was Dan. And so when I was out of the office at a conference last week, they took a picture of mine and they said, "Hello, my name is Dan." And everybody just gets the biggest kick out of me having Dan's personality because he
Yeah.
was a hoot in that sandbox.
He
He was
was.
fun to play with, and he just wanted to oversee things, and he just wanted results, and
Yeah.
it was very accurate. And so I get a little grief sometimes because of that personality and work style, but
Hmm.
it's also made me who I am, and it's also got me to where I am, and it'll also allow me to stay where I am, and
Hmm.
I'm grateful for that. And I'm very self-aware, as you've learned and
Yeah.
as most know. So I don't hide that or disagree or
Hmm.
say that's not true. I welcome Dan, and I just try
Yeah.
to be the best Dan I can be.
It was
Yeah.
so much fun, and you're absolutely right. The ladies in your office, they definitely got a kick out of those videos and the similarities that they could draw between Dan and you. And he was all about results. And
Mhm.
that's the way that God wired you. I'm also a
Yeah.
D. That's the way God wired me. And being aware of that, that's going to help us to become the best version of ourselves. When I think about that, though, I also think about the role that faith has played in both of our lives. And one of the things that we have in common is we both really value the chapter in the Bible of Romans 8. My life verse is Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called in accordance to his purpose. Is there a scripture in Romans that really speaks to you?
Yeah. 828
Is
is very
the
important to
same
me.
one?
Romans 8, I got really into that. I read a book about it, 2020. It was during COVID. And then I led a book study at our church. It was the entire book was around Romans chapter 8, and
Mhm.
so I like Romans 8:37. We are more than conquerors.
Yeah.
You'll see that, and but it's just it's my favorite chapter of the Bible. It's the one that's had the most influence on my life and in my faith, and you know I, I I have that. It's on my office door, Romans 8:28 over
Mhm.
there, and
Yeah.
it's just so yeah. I'm in a unique position where I can put my faith out there
Mhm.
quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I don't hesitate to do that. It's just it's part of who I am, and I'm a values person. I'm a values
Mhm.
driven person, and and that's served me well. And again, I'm grateful to be able to do that. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that is what kind of connected us,
It
and
is.
that's I'm also grateful for that. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that's worked out okay. Yep.
Now, the H in HOPE stands for habits, Kyle. And I believe that small daily actions create extraordinary results and extraordinary leaders over time. So, when you think about habits, whether it's in your faith or in your day to day living, whatever it may be, what habit would you encourage the listeners to maybe implement in their life that has really served you well and yours?
Yeah, that's a great question. So and my family will tell you this too, my wife especially. My morning routine is has been the exact same for my entire adult life. And that is, it's how I wake up, it's what I do when I wake up, it's how I get ready,
Mm.
it's how I get in the office. And I always like to get into the office before everyone else. And I always call it my power hour, but I can spend 60 to 90 minutes in here alone and I can get more done than I'll get done the entire rest of the day
Mhm.
in that time because I can just be laser focused. I can be with just me, with my thoughts. I can work on what I want.
Mm.
And then in my position, once the doors open, people show up, then I am ready and prepared to serve whoever I need to serve, however I need to serve, or work with someone on this project, then bounce to someone on this project,
Mhm.
then talk to somebody about this task, and then meet with this person, or so then I can go about my day, which I don't always know how it's going to go, but I always know how the first hour or two after I wake up are going to go and how my
Mhm.
first 60 to 90 minutes here in the office are going to go. And that's a routine that it really controls the day. And then
Mhm.
the last several years or so, being outside and getting outside as often as possible to run or to walk. And again, I don't always run. Sometimes it is just a walk, but
Mm.
just whether it's with my wife or whether it's just by myself, just to clear my head and just to get some steps in and just to keep healthy. I just encourage everybody to move as much as they can throughout the day.
Mhm. Mm.
Eh, So those are just some of the routines, but just my morning routine and getting in here and having that time to 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 get done what I need to get done or what I want to get done is a
Yeah.
huge routine for me in my life.
So just having that power hour every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting
Yep.
to work early. And, as Dan showed us in the sandbox, if you get there early, you can leave early too, right?
Sometimes Dan has to leave before everybody else at his office, and
Yeah. That's
and
okay.
they they know the only reason I'm leaving is if I've
Yeah.
got a pickup or a drop off of a
Right.
kid who can drive. My daughter's so close to getting her license, and I can't wait. And
Oh, I bet.
they're gonna see me here late every day when she gets. But until then, just people, they've got to be places, and they're close to me, and the school's down the road, and our
Yeah.
home nearby, and so a lot of times that duty falls to me, and it has their entire life. I mean, or to an extent,
Right.
when they were I mean, for a long time, my wife took them and picked them up from school and things of that nature, and she
Mhm.
takes care of her end of it for sure.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of times it's divide and conquer, so it's usually just one of them I'm having to
Mhm.
get to and from somewhere. And so that's, but yeah, sometimes Dan has to
Yeah.
leave before the closing.
Sometimes.
But yeah, he's always here early working, that's for sure.
And that's another thing I want to point out since I have met you, that family first mentality, that family first culture that you have really fostered in your office, it
Mhm.
shows because we joke about that, but we are people outside of our work life. And it shows that you're investing in your people by doing things like helping them develop self awareness, helping them develop awareness and communication skills for working with each other. There's a number of ways that I've learned that you've invested in the people in not only your office, but also your region. So I think that is also something that comes from your values. It comes from your mindset and it comes from who you are.
Yeah, I think they all know I care about them more than just results.
Yeah.
And Dan is all about results, and I think deep down though, I think everybody here knows, like, I mean, I care about them, I care about their families, I know their families, I know their kids. I know some of them have long drives to get here, and there's always a level of flexibility that we'll have here for there's moms out here not wanting to miss their kids first this or the
Mhm.
classroom party, or there's and that really comes my predecessor in this role when I was a young dad. She made sure she was like, don't ever miss anything for your
Right.
kids. It's just
Yeah.
like, great, because I'm not. And
Mhm.
it's funny, this is my 14th year here, and I've never once looked for another job, applied for another job. Like,
Yeah.
that's very rare, and that
It is.
kind of is a result of just kind of the culture we have here, and it's a familial culture with each other, but
Mhm.
also, I don't want anybody out there missing something important that their kids, because when my kids were little, I didn't miss anything I didn't want to miss, and so sometimes I wanted to miss. No, I'm just,
Mhm.
but just generally speaking, I care about them, I care about their families.
Mhm.
They all know that. It's
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it; they just know,
Right.
and so you know, just and they always work it out in terms of we're always covered here, and we'll always sacrifice for each other, or stay late, or come early, or whatever we need to do for one another, and that's important. That'll keep people, and it'll
It
keep
will.
people happy, and it'll keep people working hard, and they'll take pride in the work they do, knowing that they're supported on a personal level as well. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's important. And they've
Yeah.
had to support me
Mhm.
again. My kids have something, like, I'm not to miss it. My kids are they're almost done. I'm almost done. And then like I said, all the staff out here with younger ones, I'll be able to support them too. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. The core of leadership, it's about loving the people that you serve and
Yep.
building that kind of culture.
No, no question. I've told you before, and I'm glad you've
Mhm.
been here to my office a few times
Yeah.
and have to meet everyone and see
Mhm.
how we do business and how we conduct our day to day. And I think it's great you've been able to see that and experience that. But
Yeah.
you know, I genuinely believe, and I told you this, like, I think the people I'm here with now are the people I'm
Mhm.
going to be here with for a really long time, and I think
Mhm.
we all know that. We talk about it sometimes, and just so grateful for that. And yeah, it's a good place to be.
It
So.
absolutely is. Now, Kyle, one of the questions I ask all of my guests, it's the last question, is what is giving you hope right now?
Man, there's a lot. I was thinking about hope, and the
Mhm.
thought that this question might come, and
Yeah.
I think of one movie and one TV show about hope, and in the Shawshank Redemption, when Andy
Mhm.
Dufresne, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no
Right.
good thing ever dies, and he's saying that in response to Red, who's got a jaded view and no hope,
Right.
and then the other one is Ted Lasso, the episode titled "It's the Hope That Kills," and that's kind of a saying, over where he is relocated to in England, and Ted disproves that by saying it's actually, the lack of hope giving up is way worse than being optimistic. And I think, as far as where I'm seeing it, I mean, it's everywhere. It's in our people, our educators working hard all the time to serve kids, and our, it's in our churches that are growing and vibrant, and more people are starting to come back to church, and then at home, like, I see hope in my kids and their futures, and they're getting to that age where you're starting to see, like, the type of adult they're going to be, and
Mhm.
that fills me with hope as well. So my hope is pretty broad. I see it daily. I see it here in the office. I see it out in the region, in my schools, in our communities, and I'm full of hope for a better future, a better tomorrow, and that we'll continue to be able to continue doing our good works that we're
Absolutely.
been called to do, and so that's it for hope.
And I see the Believe poster behind
Yeah.
you. It's about that power of belief. And like I mentioned before, I had the good fortune to work with over a dozen principals yesterday. And that's really what gives me hope. I mean, they are coming back, getting ready for school. They're investing in themselves and in their teams before the kids ever come back to school. And they do that all summer long. And I think about several of them that shared the adversity they're currently going through. And
Yeah.
so, as we think about opening our school this August and all of the things that are going to come our way, the good, the bad, and the ugly, just remember that we can always choose hope.
Mm.
We can always choose to be kind. And we never know what somebody else is going through. So be sure to foster that power of belief and that power of hope and kindness in our schools and in our regions, because we need it now more than ever.
Yeah, yeah. You got to work with such a great group yesterday, and where God has placed us to be, and we're all equipped to serve and lead and in our roles and provide that hope and be hopeful for those that we are serving and the work that we are doing. So,
well, this has been an amazing conversation. I think we could probably talk for hours, Kyle, but I know there are more things that we both have to do today. So I just want to thank you for the incredible work that you're doing to support the students, the staff, the school communities across your region. Now, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
yeah, just I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. Just call the office, send me an email. I'm on some social medias. You're welcome to look there too, but I'm always pretty available and I mean that's it. I'm here. They can call my cell anytime, day or night. And most people know that. The people in our region know that and so yeah, I'm always here for anybody who'd like to chat about anything.
Yeah,
So
I would encourage you, if you're listening today, get in touch with Kyle if you have any questions. And I'm going to drop in the show notes the link to sign up to the book study, The Anxious Generation. It's a great one, great book to read. It's going to be a great book study to attend. And you can do that by following the link in the show notes.
if it fills up, we'll offer it again. It'll be we'll continue to offer that as long as it fills, and it's filled every time. So
yeah. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Lead with Hope podcast. If today's conversation encouraged you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another leader who could use a little hope. Remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up every day with hope, purpose, and the courage to make a difference. Until next time, keep leading with hope.